And welcome back, everyone, after a very short break to the four-digit World Cup. We are here once more for a round of 32 match with Brazil versus Norway, seed 8 versus seed 25 in the round of 32. Coming off of what I think a lot of people would have thought would be a very one-sided affair, Germany versus Austria, ended up being a 5-3 slugfest between the two teams as Austria came out swinging in that match. And now Brazil versus Norway, I'm hoping for a kind of similar story here between these two teams. Norway with one of the best hidden rosters in the tournament and a pretty good DT alt gimmick roster as well, number 16 on that DT3. Brazil a little bit more hard rock pilled, a little bit more strength in the mechanics department. Nomad 1, Nomad 2, the DTs as well, particularly DT2 and 3 from the qualifiers weekend. I'm Dio. I'm here again with T1G again.
How does this keep happening? Even when we don't plan to cast together, we end up casting together. It just won't stop. This is an interesting matchup because, like, on paper for me, I feel like Norway's kind of underseeded. You look at this roster, and it really feels like a team that should be seeded higher than 25th, right? You've got Yokespa, you've got Anthony W, you've got Frodo, you've got Marcus, you've got Reed Horimiya. I mean, I was pretty shocked to see that they seeded as low as they did, relatively speaking, which I think, at least on paper, because that's all we have to go on, at least on paper makes this seem like a better match than it might otherwise be. You know, obviously Brazil quite strong. To me, like, it almost feels the opposite for Brazil, where it feels like they overperformed qualifiers. A good lineup, but I don't know that I would have anticipated them getting a top 10 seed, 8 seed. Very impressive performance from them. So really interested to see what happens once these teams actually get into a real match instead of just qualifiers, where things are, a little different between your performances in qualifiers. Doesn't always translate one-to-one with your performance in a match setting. So I'm more excited for this one than I might otherwise be for an 8 versus 25.
Yeah, I definitely agree, especially after the last match that I just watched, where seed 2 almost lost to seed 31 because they came underprepared. At least that's like the only explanation that I have, right? Because otherwise I don't know what happened after qualifiers. But I feel like if both of these teams are prepared, even if Brazil comes with the same level of preparation as in qualifiers, there is still a chance at an upset here. That said, I know a lot of these Brazilian players have been really on the up and up in four-digit tournaments, in particular very recently. ADS Div 2, for example, players like Linneu, Tequila Baby, Rafael have been really solid for their teams. Frody as well. Lukaku and Kagiura, along with Learman and Main Defons, all kind of mainstays for this German roster. But even these newer players for this team, I think, are all very, very solid players, really just outside the hidden pool, right? Which is where Norway dominates and where we expect to see the bans come through. And there is that hidden 2 ban for Brazil. As for Norway, I think you're looking at either a hard rock or DT ban, and there is the DT2 ban coming through for Norway on Tweaker. No surprises there, as DT1 is very straightforward aim. DT3 is Heart of Night, so not really a DT map, right? It's more like a stream aim control, finger control hybrid sort of deal. So there's, I think, a pretty solid chance for Norway to take some good points here, right? They don't necessarily have the hidden pool, or at least not the hidden 2, but they have the hidden 1, they have the free mod 2, they have stuff like the free mod 3, maybe the no mod 3, or DT3 as options for themselves. And as Brazil, I think you have a lot of really good mechanics picks. You have the no mod 2, you have potentially the DT1 or something like the Nomad 5. You have both hard rock maps open here as well, right? There's a lot of places that both of these teams can go, and I think that makes this match really interesting from a pick ban perspective, because on paper you expect both of these teams, I think, to win their picks against their opponents. So I'm looking forward to this one.
I suppose in general you anticipate teams picking maps that they will win, but yes,
in general, but like in some cases, just because you're picking maps that are good for you that shit don't matter, right? Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it just does not matter. I think in this match, if both teams pick well, it actually matters. That's more the point that I'm making here. I think they're both good enough to win their picks against their opponents.
Yeah, and it looks like we are going to open up with the Hard Rock pool here as the first selection for Brazil, opting their way into the Hard Rock 2, which is, of course, the precision pick in this pool. CS 6.8, so slightly smaller circles than your normal CS 6.5 precision, and it's a precision alt pick. And if we look at the qualifier results, you might have an idea of why they would opt into this. Brazil on the Nomad 3 was 13th, and on the Hard Rock 2 were 4th. Meanwhile, Norway were 40th and 37th. To me, it feels like Norway in the qualifiers, when they weren't good, they were extremely not good. Some of their performances on some of these qualifier maps, I know there's 32 teams, so, you know, that goes down a little farther, just for the bracket qualifiers alone. But they really seem to have struggled quite badly in the qualifiers on the maps that weren't within their wheelhouse, while they did really well on the maps that were. And this kind of hits a couple spots that Brazil did very well on and Norway did very poorly on. And so, you know, going off of qualifiers as the sole basis for what we know about these teams so far, this pick makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like this pick a lot for Brazil here. I think this is probably one of their singular best picks in the pool, alongside maybe the Hard Rock 1, right? It's not necessarily that they are an AIM team, but Nomad 1 and Hard Rock 1 in qualifiers, they were number 4 and number 16. Nomad 1 and Hard Rock 1 in qualifiers, Norway was number 34 and 43. So there are quite a few places in this pool, particularly the Hard Rock pool and the Nomad 1 and 2 mechanics picks, where Norway just was not good in qualifiers. And I think Brazil can pretty easily pick into those places in this match as well, because a lot of those slots kind of line up with each other, like in this case, the Nomad 3 and Hard Rock 2. Some teams are good at one, not the other. Norway was bad at both, and Brazil was good at both. So it lines up very, very nicely for this Brazilian team. Kaguya, Rafael, Afrodi, and Mr. Wang in for Brazil here. I think Mr. Wang is supposed to be on Team Norway. Indeed, he is. And there goes Lukaku in for Brazil. Instead, Mr. Wang over on Norway alongside Yokespy, Anthony W, and Frodo.
Mr. Wang, what a username that is, man. Only in Porto.
It's like Jack Wang, but
yeah.
nondescript first name.
You know, his original name was Ghosty Ghost. I kind of like that more.
I kind of like that, yeah. I kind of like
Ghosty Ghost. That's a bit of a banger. Yeah, for me, it's going to be a little bit of a learning phase here for the players on these rosters. But as Zio said, these are who we have. And we're going to get into our first pick of this round of 32 match. Brazil looking to solidify their presence as a top 8 seed with a strong performance here. Norway, it feels like always a team playing a bit of an underdog role in many a tournament, and we have maybe a disconnect that I bet they hit escape twice. I bet we need to, maybe a panic to double check and see, and I don't know if we're gonna get an abort or what.
Definitely looked like they just DC'd by accident or hit escape twice or something.
There we go.
Yeah, not surprising that we get the abort there. And there we are. Should be getting back into it in a moment.
Yeah. And we will we'll start the map off for real. Anyway, I was gonna say Norway feels like very, very frequently like an underdog team in so many country tournaments. Got a good seed in the most recent Coastal World Cup in 2024, but other than that, it feels like they're typically trying to punch above their weight class, and they quite frequently manage to do that successfully. So we'll see if they can do it again here, perhaps, as restart this pick as our this is what, our second to last match of the day here, coming down to the business end of the round of 32. Almost all of our teams being decided for round of 16 in winners bracket. Of course, winner of this will go on to face France in the round of 16. So that will be the awaiting opponent, with the loser going down to face Ukraine. And now we will get into this. Second try shall be the charm for our Hard Rock first pick of this match.
already quite a few breaks, actually. It looks like 3 full combos for Norway, 1 for Brazil on Brazil's first pick. Frody, the only aforementioned full combo. Yokespy, Anthony W. Frodo, all still holding on for Norway as Lukaku and Rafael find another couple of breaks here. There goes a Frody as well, and now no full combos for Brazil. 3 still intact for Norway. Mr. Wang, Ghosty Ghost, on the recovery combo as well. That said, the accuracy not very good for a lot of these players on Norway. 93, 94, 92 for Yokespy, Frodo, Mr. Wang. Anthony W still up near 97, but combo is really what matters here. Kagiura, the only high combo at all on the side of Brazil, and this is a 350 and climbing 1,000 score lead for Norway. There goes Frodo, does drop 1 of those FCs, but there goes Kagiura. The combo is just non-existent on Brazil, and it's now a 500,000 score lead for Norway, who are going to breakpoint Brazil on their first pick in dominant fashion. I mean, Brazil just does not have any combos whatsoever to try and claw this back. It's just a Frody with 300 combo, but Yokespy and Anthony W are still on this double FC for Norway, who just absolutely crushed Brazil on this map. And I don't know what it is about Hard Rock Precision alts in particular that makes it better for Norway than the Nomad alt and Hard Rock Precision maps from qualifiers, but they are an entirely different team, and Brazil, unfortunately, are also an entirely different team on this map. They got 3 million team score on Hard Rock 2 in qualifiers and 2.5 million on Nomad 3 in qualifiers. Meanwhile, Norway, 1.9 on the Nomad 3, 2.0 on the Hard Rock 2, up to 2.5 million for them. The roles are completely reversed on this map, and Norway absolutely crush it.
Yeah, that's a crazy reversal of fortune for these teams compared to what we saw from them in qualifiers, and also just a crazy performance from Norway on the parts of Yokespy and Anthony W, both putting up over 820k, very nearly 2v4 with those two players alone. And yeah, Brazil just could not get anything going at any point in that map. They were unable to establish any sort of combo at any juncture, just continuous breaks almost the entire way through. They had the one combo through portions of the map, and that was really all they were ever able to obtain. And so a brutally one-sided first pick break point in favor of Norway. Now will get their own first pick to try to consolidate it, and they have I think plenty of options here. We talked about maybe a hidden or a free mod right as a team that's very solid at reading. Had the hidden 2 banned against them. They do still have the hidden 1. They have the free mods 1 and 2, anti-mod for free mod 2 if they really want to go into that kind of more reading heavy. Free mod 1, which just kind of offers a little more of the awkward, dense aim. I think those are a couple of pretty reasonable options for them based on what we know about this team. Of course, if they're suddenly just amazing at both Hard Rock and at alt, there's no mod 3 and Hard Rock 1, technically speaking. If somehow or other Norway was just straight de-seeding those skill sets, there's a couple other options that they could choose.
We'll see. Now they're just going to go with free mod 3, which is actually also an alt map, and you have to take a Hard Rock on it, so it kind of works. It's a little different from Hard Rock 2. It is CS 3.3 instead of 6.76. So, a little bit different here, but it is still an alt map. That was just such a weird opening to this match. I feel like Norway will probably end up running double hiddens on this, and Brazil will probably end up running double Hard Rocks, and one of each for the other team, vice versa. I do think this is still a somewhat weird pick for Norway just because of Nomad 3 from qualifiers, but we'll see how this one goes, right? It was a very different sort of alt map in qualifiers. That one was more kind of low, higher BPM, almost 150 BPM alt, which plays a lot different than something this low BPM 135 BPM alt. It's a lot easier to put high spacing patterns with a lot less finger control in them in maps like this, and that's exactly what this has. Is a lot of high spacing patterns, not as much finger control, still there to some extent, but a little bit more reading and a little bit more slider aim as well. This is kind of a light tech mixture in this map as well. Which Norway is a very good tech team. It's a very good reading team, right? So I think in that regard, it makes sense. Just looking at the alt stats from qualifiers, this pick is a little weird on paper, but I think delving into the map a little more, it starts to make more sense why Norway would pick something like this here.
We'll see if they can continue their run of playing well on things we don't expect them to play well on. That's a bit wordy, but it does, explain the situation a little bit. And it looks like Brazil is taking a timeout here. I'm not entirely sure what they may be needing this for.
My guess is extra players. My guess is extra players after that first map.
Yeah, if they've got people that they're waiting to get in. So we'll be... I frankly, off the top of my head, I don't know the length of the timeout, so I don't know how long this will be. But we will have some amount of time before the map gets underway, during which I will make mention we have an unfortunate a forfeit on the part of Saudi Arabia in the what would have been the last match of the day. They have forfeited their match against Canada, so Canada will receive a forfeit win, and we will no longer have that 19 UTC match. So Canada will advance onward into round of 32 to meet up against somebody or other. Where's their team? To meet up against Singapore. So that is going on in the background. And of course, we do have ongoing the Poland versus Colombia on the B stream. So if you want to watch something that's actually maybe going on, we have Poland, Colombia, first ever Colombian team in any World Cup to reach a bracket stage. So congratulations to them on getting in and having that opportunity to play in the bracket. As we are getting some Brazilian players in here now, so I believe we should hopefully get underway here with our second map. Norway, try to consolidate that break point, man. It's so huge. We talked about it. So when we commentated earlier, get the 2-0 lead in the best of 9, and you can just kind of post a little bit from there, and they're hoping to do that in this circumstance.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see how well it goes for both of these teams. Now, as you said, Brazil got the players in, should be just about ready to go after this timeout has finished. Learman, Defons, also known as Mains, Frody, and Kagira in for Brazil. Yoxpai, Ole, Anthony W, and Frodo in for them. And again, probably double hidden for Norway if I had to guess. No, going to be double hard rock actually for Norway, double hidden for Brazil. Kind of the opposite of what you would expect based off of how qualifiers went, with Norway having the much better hidden mod pool results and Brazil having the much better hard rock mod pool results. But I suppose that's just how it goes sometimes on maps like this, right? It is CS 3.3, so for some people, especially with these perfect stack overlaps, hard rock will be a little bit more comfortable than the hidden.
Well, we will let it play out and find out if that is indeed to be the case. We have a couple of early breaks from Ole over on the side of Norway with that hard rock, so it is not helping him so far. A three-way FC for Brazil still intact, and Defons, Learman, and Frody. Frodo with the third miss for Norway there, as Anthony W with a very early break as well, so it is only Yoxpai left full combo for Norway, and a small lead established for Brazil here in the early goings. Decently long map, right? 3.5 minutes, so the lead won't build up all that quickly. Plenty of time to build the combo back up as well through these challenging sliders and alt patterns. We've seen some really good performances on this. We've also seen some players struggling on this back in that China match against Chile, I am reminded. We had some players struggling a bit there, and some players holding full combos until the very end there. So see what happens this time. It is still 3 FCs for Brazil, lead out to 150k.
Still pretty close overall in the combos, though. Anthony W and Afrodi also trading here. It's still better combo for Brazil, but not by a ton. But there goes Yokespy. That's the last FC down for Norway, and now it's looking very good for Brazil. There goes Lyriman to trade, but still the combo lead for Defons and the reverse choke for Kagiura. Ole and Frodo still on those reverse chokes on the recovery, but there goes Ole, and there goes Frodo as well, and that's a full team wipe. Bit of a delay on it, but full team wipe for Norway, as Brazil still holds an FC and a reverse choke on Defons and Kagiura, and that is Brazil finding the breakpoint answer right back on Norway's first pick, keeping it tied up 1-1. And that, I think, is more what we expect based on the qualifier results, is these sorts of alt maps to go the way of Brazil because of how much better they were in the qualifiers on that Nomad 3, right? They had about 500k team score advantage over Norway on the qualifiers Nomad 3, so this is not all that surprising of a result, even with Norway having a very good time on the Hard Rock 2, right? That was more the surprising result than this Mod 3.
Yeah, this is really, if anything, just a return to status quo, and it kind of makes me wonder about the pick of this map from Norway as well. I'm assuming, giving them the benefit of the doubt, they did not pick this solely because they won the Hard Rock pick previously. I'm going to bet that that wasn't the case, because I would question it even more if it was to be true. But this is just what you anticipate, as you said, out of a Brazil team that looked really good on this skill set in qualifiers. They're going to win this by a gigantic margin. No full combos as Defons breaks right at the very end. Unfortunately, I believe that was still an FC to that point, at least. But it is a 2.5 million to 1.8 million. And that is all... No, that is 3 of the 4 scores from Brazil better than any score from Norway. And the 4th was 447k, which really wasn't all that far behind. That was still tied with Norway's second best score. So clearly Brazil just a lot stronger on that particular pick. A handy-dandy break point right on back to tie it up 1 apiece. And as we said, just a lot more along the lines of what we expected out of this skill set in this matchup. Back on pick order, Brazil with the map choice for themselves here. Options kind of abound here at this stage. And given what we've seen so far, I don't think we've really learned a whole lot about what might be the best or worst picks for the teams.
Well, let's see how it goes. I think this is going to be more Brazil's speed, to maybe put a pun in there. It's just 200 BPM stream stamina and flow aim, and Brazil in qualifiers absolutely gapped Norway on stream stamina and speed. In the Nomad 2 in particular, 2.7 million team score to 2 million team score flat, number 7 overall to number 40 overall. So it's looking good for Brazil on this pick in particular. We'll just have to see if they can maintain that kind of dominance from the qualifiers, or even if not dominate this pick, at least keep the win under their belt in the head-to-head here. Nyarlathotep's Dreamland by Raimakun. 200 BPM, 3.5 circle size, AR 9.4 for this map, and only 2 minutes long. It's just streams and flow aim stamina, pretty much as straightforward as you can possibly get for this Nomad 2 slot.
Yeah, this is one of the absolute most basic slot maps in this pool, which always fine to see, because there's plenty of other options for people who don't want stuff that's quite so standard. And you know, if you look at the qualifier results, right, the couple of things that stand out really are those Nomads and the Nomad 2 Brazil 7th versus Norway 40th. Kind of tells the tale. You just anticipate this to not be particularly competitive in all likelihood. I guess we said the same thing about the Hard Rock 2. So
yeah,
you know,
so you never know, but like,
yeah, things are a little confusing in this matchup today. But what's interesting to me too is, like, Norway has such a good tapping team in OWC, right? They have, you know, the single best tapping player in the world on that team. which is not the case in 4-digit scene for them.
Yeah, all of their tapping players are all 3-digit or 1-digit. So
yeah, something about tapping being a skill set that is conducive to gaining lots of performance points. There might be something. There might be something there. But I think we are going to be good to go here. It's going to be Lurman Defon's Tequila Baby, and how do you pronounce that? Is it Lineu or is it Lineu or is it
Lineu?
Lineu.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's yeah. Against Mr. Wang, Reed Horimiya, Ole, and Frodo. Or Ole?
I'm kind of assuming Brazilian
Ole.
Portuguese / Spanish pronunciation for Lineu,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably correct.
And with that player on Norway being from Norway, you think it's just Ole or like Ola and not like Ole, like it would be in a Spanish or Hispanic, or otherwise Romance-based language?
Maybe?
Need to find
I guess
out.
it could be Ola.
Need to find out on that one.
Yeah. Anyway, full combos all intact for Norway here to start things off. A couple of early breaks for Mains and Tequila Baby, the Fonz there, up in the top right for Brazil. So early lead actually to the side of Norway in this map, contrary to expectations. And another break coming through for Mains. Defon's finding another drop here. And once again, it feels like Norway is doing pretty well for themselves. Another break to come through, first time for them from Reed Horimiya and Ola. And now it's Mr. Wang and Frodo versus Lurman and Tequila Baby. There goes Lurman. There goes Mr. Wang. It's Frodo versus Tequila Baby on the high combo support, roughly the same. Frodo on the FC, Tequila Baby on the reverse choke, but slightly better supporting combo for Norway, or for Brazil, than for Norway. So this is, once again, looking very close, but slightly favored to Norway, 2/3 of the way in, all dependent on what happens to these big combos, and really kind of dependent on the full field, because the supporting combos for Brazil are a little bit better. The score is coming over slowly towards the side of Brazil, so something has to give if Norway wants to continue the breakpoint streak in this match.
It is staying pretty steady here. Nobody has broken in quite some time. Lowest combo in the lobby is now 0 as Lurman will suffer the late break coming into the ending.
Bancho.
Oh, it was a Bancho miss. I don't know if it's going to really matter. That score lead's steady right around 80K. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And whoa, wait, Ola with the break late. Hang on just a second. We've got a little bit of time left. Not enough, though. It drops from 80K all the way down to 25K, but that is 25,000 points too many, and it builds back up even a little more on that spinner. And Norway, man, I guess nothing about this match is going to make sense. The qualifiers are completely irrelevant. Maybe just an inconsistent team on some skill sets could explain the 25th seed despite the strong players on that roster. Hard to say for sure, but whatever the reasoning may be, that is breakpoint after breakpoint and a third to follow. Norway with a 2-1 lead, and we've yet to see a team convert on their own pick 3 maps in. I don't know. Nothing makes sense. Up is down and down is up, and cats and dogs are living together.
Yeah, I not much else to say after that, aside from the qualifiers in this tournament seem to have some contradictory results to the bracket stage, at least today. We've seen quite a lot of upsets on picks that are ostensibly favored to one team or the other based on qualifiers. So I'm certainly not holding out hope that it's going to become more predictive in this match, especially after Brazil losing that Nomad 2. I mean, that's one of the most straightforward maps that there is. It's just pure mechanics. Norway, on those pure mechanics tests in qualifiers, absolutely did not do this well. And Brazil did far better. So I just don't quite know anymore. And I suppose we'll just have to see. As for Norway, do you want to pick mechanics? Yeah, I agree with this timeout. I think this is a perfect timeout opportunity for Norway. You go into this and you say, okay, we lost on like normal-ish alt in the free mod 3, but we went Hard Rock 2, no mod 2. What is the common thread? How do we capitalize on our breakpoint advantage here and not give it up immediately as we did the first time around. I think something like DT3 after the Nomad 2 feels very good. It seems like a lot of teams who are strong on that Nomad 2 are also strong on the DT3 in this pool on Heart of Night. So I feel like that could end up being very solid for them. The other thing that I think is probably still good for Norway is the free mod 2. Yes, Hidden 2 is banned. Maybe Hidden 1 or free mod 2 could also be good picks for them in that regard. And I think, make use of your prowess on Hidden and low approach rate reading to keep this breakpoint advantage here.
I'm just sitting here thinking, and it's not really getting me anywhere particularly useful. Because with the way that these first 3 picks have gone, it becomes really hard to judge going forward what a team might want to do. You mentioned like asking themselves what's the common thread between the Nomad 2 and the Hard Rock 2. Well, the common thread is that there is no common thread. It's an incredibly standard Nomad 2 compared to a precision alt Hard Rock 2. Like, there is just absolutely nothing at all in common between those 2 maps. And so you're just not able to learn anything from having won those picks. And, you talk about, like, maybe wanting to use their prowess in the hidden reading and stuff, but they went into Free Mod 3, ran double Hard Rock, and lost it. I mean, like...
Could have ran double hidden. I don't know, man. Like,
it's just strange. And, I get the using a timeout as well. I agree with that because, man, what are you doing in this match so far? Nobody's really quite sure. I almost want to say that the DT3 makes the most sense and just say, all right, we won Nomad 2 stamina. Let's win DT3 stamina as well. Because it makes as much sense as anything else does at this point. Either that or the free mod 2. And hey, look, it's the free mod 2. Because again, like, they're the reading team. Norway and reading go together, peanut butter and jelly or whatever, comparison you want to make to that. They have always been known as a country that has some very strong reading players, and as long as you have Yolkspie on your team, I think that's just forever going to be the case because you can put him in and know that you're going to probably get at least one really, really good score on something. Also, question, easy 1.5x multiplier. Do we run easy on the CS5 AR8 Amy anti-mod pick in this pool?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like Yolkspie in particular is not going to have any trouble reading the hidden on this and is going to be pretty comfortable just FCing. It's 5.8 star, 166 BPM aim. I feel like there's not really a point in him running easy, right? Because you would run easy as opposed to hidden on this map. So the question is not, am I going to FC with easy? It's, am I going to outscore my hidden plays with easy? And I don't know that the answer is yes in this case for Yolkspie. I feel like you just run the hidden and be done with it, right? Unless you are so much more consistent on easy that it's a guaranteed almost double S or high AC FC, and hidden is kind of flip-flopping between like 900k and 500k. In that case, I could see running the easy here for somebody on Norway, probably Yolkspie. But other than that, I don't really see a world where you want to run that easy. So we'll see. I feel like it's going to be hidden instead, just because I think at this star rating, it's a low enough mechanics requirement that hidden is going to be higher score overall for most reading players, even though it's an aim map. But we'll just have to see. I think with this roster also for Norway, it looks like we're going to get double Hard Rock on probably Reed, Horimiya, and Frodo, hidden for Yolkspie, Hard Rock for Anthony W. So I think we're going double Hard Rock again on this map. I'm kind of hoping for double hidden somewhere. Maybe hidden for Yolkspie, Anthony W, Nomad for Reed, Horimiya. I feel like that might be a little bit better. We'll see.
We've got the 8 players into the lobby, so we will be able to get underway and find out. Liruman, Afrodi, Kagiura, and Raphael XDP. Right. And try this again here. It is going to be double hidden. Yolkspie, Anthony W. Dio's wishes are granted. Frodo on the Soul Hard Rock. Double Hard Rock for Brazil on Afrodi and Raphael, with Hidden on Learman Nomad on Kagiura to match Reed Horimiya. And maybe a team can win their own pick for the first time on our 4th map of this match. Maybe, just maybe, as we start out with matching breaks on Kagiura and CW. Reed Horimiya follows it up shortly thereafter with Learman to match that one. So already down to just 2 FCs per team: Afrodi, Raphael, Yokespy, and Frodo.
Unfortunately, Anthony W having a little bit of trouble with some of the extended slider end triples in this map, finding a couple of breaks on some of those, finding a break on the flow aim there as well. Afrodi also finding the drop for Brazil. There goes Learman and Kagiura, both of those low AR players for Brazil. And there goes Raphael as well. So an extended team break for Brazil. All 4 players dropping the combo. And it's Yokespy on the FC, Reed Horimiya on the reverse choke on Nomad for Norway. Halfway in to continue pulling up the score lead for themselves. And again, I think this is why you put Yokespy on this hidden, because as soon as he gets above 750k, he is doing better than he would on the easy. But if you find a break right in the middle of the map like that, that might not come to pass, as now Yokespy kind of score capped around 600k, and maybe the easy was optimal after all, but I don't know how much is it going to matter. Another couple of breaks to come through for Learman, Kagiura, and Anthony W. Frodo, Reed Horimiya still holding combo advantage for Norway over Afrodi and Raphael. So 150k score lead for Norway, not going anywhere. But there goes Frodo on the Hard Rock, and now it is combo lead to Brazil. The score lead coming back their way, but there goes Raphael now also finding the drop, and it's combo lead back the way of Norway. Reed Horimiya, higher combo than Afrodi, and supporting combo for Yokespy, helping keep things on their side by 145,000 points, and Norway will secure consolidated breakpoint advantage 3-1 into Brazil's next pick. It was a little back and forth there in the second half of the map, but that lead never fell below 100k for Norway. So in control the entire time for this roster. Very well played from Norway.
Yeah, very well played indeed. And man, something in this match finally makes a little bit of sense. Holy cow. All it took was up to the 4th map. That was pretty much exactly what we anticipated from Norway on a map like that. You just get some good performances, and Brazil not quite able to keep up, did not take advantage of the couple of misses that Norway suffered. Consistency is just higher for the Norwegians there. And, you know, the interesting thing is, you break point when you are already ahead, and it just looks like a bigger lead than it actually is. That 3-1 looks a little scary in a way, but it is just the one break point. Brazil with the pick here lost their first 2 picks, of course, so you have a little bit of concern, but they are going to opt into the DT3, and again, like, we're in this weird spot of trying to judge how the teams are playing on a given skill set today based on how they've played so far. Brazil picked the Nomad 2, and we're not successful on that map. Now they're picking the DT3, which is another tapping pick. Stamina at a lower BPM, but a little more finger control to go with it. Norway already taking a break point on a tapping map, but this is a very different style of tapping map.
Yeah, this is also something that we kind of floated as a pick for Norway, so I don't really like it for Brazil. I feel like you want to go into something a little different here, because Norway, aside from having won the Nomad 2, they were also not too far behind you on DT3 in qualifiers, which was a pretty similar style of map, right? It's more high AR DT alt. That one was a little bit more like snap aim alt focused, and so it is different, but it's still a pretty similar DT3 in qualifiers. And the score difference there was not even 300k between these two teams. So add on to that losing the Nomad 2 for Brazil earlier in this match, and I feel like Norway is actually pretty happy that they picked DT3 here for Brazil. So I like Norway's chances on this pretty well. I don't know about this pick for Brazil. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, because on paper, from qualifiers, Brazil's still the better tapping team, still the better stamina team, still the better DT3 gimmick team as well. So on paper, they should win this. But based on what we've seen so far today, I like Norway's chances on this map. We'll see how this one goes.
The most dangerous statement of today so far seems to have been, I like Team X and their chances on this map today, because goodness knows how it's going to actually play out. But yeah, I mean, I keep coming back to the fact that we were legitimately discussing this as a potential Norway pick. That's what's kind of got me. But yeah. Brazil knows their scores and know, what they're likely to be able to put up on this. Interesting aside, earlier we had this picked in China versus Chile with players who have been around the scene for quite some time and have played this map a fair number of times, in all likelihood, in various tournaments. I don't know that the same is true for Brazil versus Norway here. I feel that these are much newer tournament players with less experience that may have not seen this map as often. I don't know if that affects anything at all, and it's just kind of an interesting note to me to see the relative ages and lengths of service, as it were, of the players on these teams. As you have Tequila Baby, Efrodi, Lukachu, and Defans against Yoxpai, Mr. Wang, Ola, and Reed Horimiya. Maybe Norway with some players that have seen this before. Not so sure about Brazil.
Yeah, a lot of these players on Brazil are relatively new, so I'm not sure. Heart of Night tends to be one of those maps that is used sparingly because it was so popular for a long time, but at this point, a lot of the player base that played it has kind of aged out of tournaments, and so I feel like the time for the OG has come once again, as a new generation of tournament players can be introduced to Heart of Night, and a generation of older tournament players can smack them around a little bit on it before they get used to the map.
Wait. Can we bring back Hapitam wa Owarani in Hidden 2 or Free Mod?
Oh god, no, that map just
Please?
sucks. Don't bring that one
Please?
back. No, that map
Are
just
you
sucks.
sure?
Yeah, I'm completely sure. I played the map. It's dog water. Please don't bring that one back. Heart of Night is a good map. This one deserves to come back. Happy Time does not deserve to come back. We're not keeping that around. Leave it in the dust where it belongs. A couple of early breaks here. Lukachu breaking right at the start of the map. Ola breaking very recently. So combo lead over the way of Brazil. 3 full combos to 3. Anyone with low accuracy right now? Yes. Yoxpai, Mr. Wang, 96, 97 accuracy. Everybody else about 98, 99 or so. In a lot of other matches, we've seen players with lower accuracy tend to break first about halfway through the map as stamina starts to become an issue. So track those two on the top row for Norway to see if that does become a problem for them. Defans, though, mains the first one to break for Brazil, even with that higher accuracy. And Lukachu also finding another drop here in this first guy time. There goes Efrodi also, and now suddenly it's just Tequila Baby holding the FC for Brazil. 1 versus 3 on the FCs. Ola also finding a break for Norway, but that's just the recovery combo. They already broke pretty recently, and now this is a massive combo lead. 3 FCs to 1 supporting combo matching for Norway over Brazil.
We said that this was maybe a little risky of a pick for Brazil, and, we're looking like that could end up being accurate. Now, we still have a decent amount of time. We're only halfway through and a lot of combo left, but it could be interesting. We did see that break just a moment ago from Yoxpai. Fell off of one of those bursts, it looked like, and had some accuracy drops in the combo drop. There goes Mr. Wang as well, and just like that, Norway's down to Reed Horimiya on the FC, Ola on the 500 backing combo. But Brazil has established quite a bit of recovery. You've got Tequila Baby still on the FC, Efrodi, Defans, and Lukachu all in recovery combo. That score gap is going to start to dwindle ever so slowly. You've got Yoxpai and Ola already on big recovery combo thanks to just how combo dense this map is, but it is still the combo lead to Brazil by a little bit. And you can see that score, it's come down to just about 100k, but there goes Tequila Baby! And that might be job done in favor of Norway. Reed Horimiya still on the full combo, and now Brazil without their leading player on the map. And Reed Horimiya falls, however, did manage to take the lead back out to about 130k. It's just shy of that now. You've got 3 sizable combos on the other members. It is a bit of a combo lead to Brazil, but down went Lukachu as well, and that should be enough for Norway to hold into the ending. And we said this might be a Norway pick. This might be a risky Brazil pick. And it does end up being more than a risky Brazil pick. It is going to be a lost Brazil pick. It is going to be another break point in favor of Norway and a 4-1 lead in their favor. Match points the rest of the way for the underdogs here. Dio, we said at the beginning of this match that the seeds really did not tell the story of this matchup, and I think that is playing out in front of us as Norway is kind of on one today, and Brazil maybe not getting exactly what they would have liked out of their players, but Norway is taking full advantage of it by performing quite well for themselves.
Yeah, I made a lot of Cinderella references in the previous matchup because it was Austria taking 3 points off of Germany, seed 31 versus seed 2. I feel like those are kind of warranted in a seeding matchup like that. Here, not necessarily a Cinderella story, but it does feel still a little bit like something out of fiction, as seed 25 versus seed 8 is still expected to be pretty one-sided in favor of seed 8 in most tournaments, right? That is top seed versus bottom seed. Granted, you're right at the edge of being middle seeds for both of those, but that is still top 8 versus bottom 8 in the tournament. You expect this to be one-sided in favor of the 8th seed, but that is not reality right now. Some of these points have been close for Norway, yes, but they are still winning them. They are up 4-1 match point with next pick. They have the opportunity to close this match out with their next pick here. And Aaron, they still have Hidden 1 available. They have not touched the hidden pool this entire time. I feel like this is the point where you break it out and you say, we were better than you on hidden in qualifiers. We still have better hidden players than you for something like this. Hidden 1 in the qualifiers, though, was a lot closer than hidden 2. So the other thing I think they could bust out is something like the Nomad 4. That's the only other on-paper advantage from qualifiers they have. But again, that one is also very close. It feels like a lot of the options here have kind of run out a little bit. I don't know that you want to pick any of the aim maps. I don't know that you want to pick a speed tapping Nomad 5 either. It is going to be Nomad 4 instead. So I think, again, this makes sense for Norway. Good tech team, good reading team. But we'll just have to see how it goes because expectations have been flipped on their head many times in this match already. So the expectation here is a close Nomad 4 with Norway having the slight edge. They win this head-to-head in qualifiers by 75,000 points, which is basically nothing, right? A 75,000 point lead in a 4v4 is minuscule. So this is something that on paper is probably going to be pretty close between these two.
Yeah, as you said, I think many of the maps, especially those remaining, but kind of just in general in this pool, were always going to be very competitive between these two teams, especially going from qualifiers to playing an actual match with a, I believe, slightly easier pool in the qualifiers, right? So perhaps any skill cap might be removed in this case. And this Nomad 4 is among those very likely to be closely contested sorts of picks. Honestly, in this match, I'm at the point of just not even trying to predict what's going to happen, not even trying to predict who's going to do what, because it's impossible, it seems. We've had 4 out of 5 maps go for break points. And, that's just not going to stop anytime soon, it feels like, right? Well, who's to say Brazil doesn't just 4-way this or something ridiculous? I mean, exaggeration maybe, but you just don't know what's going to happen at this stage in this match, and that's kind of what makes it all the more fun and exciting. But we've got Halago, we've got Slider Tech. I feel like that kind of speaks for itself, right? It's just... I don't know. I low-key, I just want to get into this and see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm just ready to see how the map goes. Like you said, I don't really have a prediction for this map. I just think it's going to be close. Though, so let's see a close map.
Okay, close map. Let's see, last 5 seconds, 5K score difference. Every note matters. Every 100 matters. Because... that just makes things way much more fun. Way much more fun? Anyway, way more fun than anything one-sided. So in we're going to go. It's going to be a Frody, Kageura, Raphael XDP, and Defans. Yokespy, Reed, Horimiya, Anti-W, Frodo. Quite experienced roster from Norway, it feels. A lot of guys that have done this a time or two and are in this closeout situation looking to end this match off right here and right now. Brazil looking to stave off a trip to the losers bracket by at least one more map, if not one more whole week. But the comeback story needs to start now and needs to be an explosive one if Brazil wants to make it happen.
Well, we will, as we get further into this map, start to figure out who is truly comfortable on this. I do see this map having a lot of Bancho issues, so I'm going to wait to call out misses a little bit, but there's one for a Frody, and there's a fake one for Anthony W again. I think a real one for Raphael on the side of Brazil. Frodo finding a miss there on a circle tells me that's probably not a Bancho break. So 1-2 in terms of the misses, 3-2 in terms of the FCs in favor of Norway right now. Recovery combo slightly better for Brazil, but you'd rather have the FC. Yokespy, Reed, Horimiya, and Anthony W all still holding on just a quarter of the way into the map. So no huge score lead yet, but that combo will continue to let them build that score lead over time, so long as they're able to hold on to those FCs. This map is long, though. This is 3 minutes and 45 seconds of Halgo Slider Tech. It's not particularly difficult at any point in the map, right? It's 5.65 stars, and even for a map like this, 5.65 stars is pretty low star rating for a tech map. But it's all consistently tough throughout basically the entire map, and so it's more so the consistency that matters. And there goes Anthony W, does find the break about halfway through. Frodo on a good recovery, but combo lead now back over to Brazil as Afrodi and Raphael have recovered nicely. The two full combos on Kageura and Defans also still holding, and there goes Reed Horimiya now also for Norway, and suddenly it's falling apart for the Norwegian squad halfway into the map as Brazil takes hold of the score lead.
This is danger territory for Norway. Now we are only just past halfway through, but that lead is going to go the side of Brazil, and they've got a lot of combo advantage on their side. Double FC, and as mentioned, Afrodi and Raphael on those huge recoveries. Anti-W falls once more. Not a meaningful one, nor is Reed Horimiya breaking, but Yokespy and Frodo need all the help they can get here, and it would require a few misses from Brazil, who now have taken the lead up over 150k, and it's just going to continue to climb. They are absolutely running this map, and once more, we're just subverting expectations out here like it's the last season of Game of Thrones, I guess. Nothing makes sense in this matchup, and once more, it's looking like we're going to see a somewhat unexpected break point. You know, you could anticipate it a little bit going into the DT3. I think that wasn't quite so surprising knowing what we knew. But this one felt like Norway, you know, of the remaining maps, this felt like a pretty good option for them. And Brazil is showing us why that was just not the right judgment to make about the maps in this pool, as Kageura and Defans are just having their way, and Afrodi and Raphael as well. Just the reverse chokes for them. Double FC still into the late stage as we go. Accuracy be damned, because this is just not a map you're going to act very well. It's Halgo Slider Tech after all. But a double FC perhaps in the cards here for Brazil, and their second point on the board by a massive 500k plus margin. I mean, this was just never close. This is an incredibly one-sided sort of affair. And yeah, Yokespy is going to match an FC, and yeah, Frodo is going to put up a good score, but I mean, that's practically 600k. It's just, yeah, who knows, man? This match continues to surprise and shock. And if you're a Brazil fan, maybe starts to delight just a little bit here as they put their second point up on the board, and they have their own pick to stave off maybe another match point. Who knows? They finally stem the tide of Norway taking several points there. But they got to win a pick of their own here, and that has proven to elude them thus far.
Yeah, it's if you can't close it out, your advantage basically means nothing anyway. So let's just see if Brazil can, as you said, find that elusive correct pick here. They have not won a pick of their own so far in this match. It has just been breakpoints for Brazil. Norway, of course, has won one pick of their own at the moment, and otherwise has only taken breakpoints. These teams have just been picking for each other pretty much all match long. So let's see if we can find a pick of our own for Brazil. After the free mod 3, I do still think I like the no mod 3 in this pool. That is potentially something to go into, and Brazil as well, right? You just won the no mod 4, so you know no mod unconventional map styles you should be pretty solid on versus this Norway team. No mod 3 is also somewhat long of a map as well. It is another one of those 3-minute and 30-second maps, so another more consistency focused map that seemed to work well on the no mod 4 for you. You started out down in score, ended up by a few 100,000 points as well, so potentially something like the no mod 3, but instead of unconventional consistency test, we're going to go with a conventional consistency test instead in the no mod 1, time and again by Felt. Apps special difficulty 177 BPM, wide angle, awkward jumps, pattern aim, wiggly streams here and there in this map as well. It's a little unconventional, but it is an aim map at its core.
Helen, talking aim maps, Brazil 4th qualifiers no mod 1, Norway 34th qualifiers no mod 1. If that says anything to you at all, since they were both aim maps. Now, obviously, this drops down pretty significantly from the qualifiers no mod 1. It's a full star rating lower, and it's also, 40 BPM lower. So a pretty sizable difference in kind of the basic attributes of these maps. But it does seem to say that Brazil reasonably strong on the aim. Norway perhaps a little less strong on the aim. If there was ever a map that it's very easy to be inconsistent on, it's traditionally no mod 1, but when your star rating goes down this far, I feel that a lot of players should have a pretty good time with this type of pick. But again, as has been the case for many a map in this match, it just feels like you can't make any sort of predictions, you can't make any sort of guesses, because goodness only knows what's going to happen once the map actually starts getting played. You could have a team double FCing for a break point, because why not? You know, you could have a team losing a pick that introduces different skill sets that both of which they were far better than their opponent on. Like, it just happens. I really am out of ways to talk about the way that this match kind of doesn't make much sense and what's happening in it, because it's really just any which way.
Yeah, we'll just see how it goes. That's my addition to it. Tequila Baby, Rafael, Kagira, Defons looking to make sure Brazil stays in the winner's bracket one more map and try to push them 1 point closer to tiebreaker. Norway fielding Loloke, Reed Hormia, Ola, and Frodo to try to close this out here and not need a last pick. Continue the string of breakpoint that we've seen throughout this match.
Away we go. Talking of consistency for Brazil, 3.5 minutes lie between us and the finish line of this particular pick. And in we go through the intro. You'll start to see kind of what this map offers. It kind of has some elements of a hidden one a little bit, a little less, straightforward than a lot of no mod 1s you'll see, and that has contributed to a couple of early breaks, one each from Defons and Loloke. It has those little slider jumps and slightly awkward angles in the jump patterns as well that can just trip you up if you're not super careful with them. But it's 6 FCs on the board through 300 combo, as you would like to see before we get into the first Ki. And here we go. It's an instant break from Tequila Baby. Let's see if there's anybody to match that over on the side of Norway, or if they will be able to take a little bit of a lead here in this first chorus section of the song.
Yeah, it is just a little bit of combo lead, though, and we've seen how early combo leads can lie a little bit as well. There goes Rafael, though, breaking at the end of that first Ki time. Only a 500 combo deficit, or about 450 combo deficit, given up by dropping that FC, but if you keep giving those deficits up, and if your opponent doesn't ever trade them back, then it can start to be pretty bad later on into the map as well. I mean, this is not that high combo density of a map. It's very slow. It's long, but it's only about 1,300 combo. So that's a pretty significant combo lead for Norway right now. With those now two full combos intact. Frodo trading one of those misses back over, but there goes Mains as well. One full combo to 2 in favor of Norway. Better supporting combo for LOLOK than for either Tequila Baby or Raphael. And Norway now up 200,000 points, up a huge amount of combo in this map as well. The 2 supporting scores for Tequila Baby and Raphael basically matching the combo on Reed Horimiya. And LOLOK kind of uncontested there with that extra 600-700 combo. So this is continuing to go very well for Norway, up 600-700 combo in this map and up 300,000 score with just a quarter of the map left to go. Seed 25 upsetting Seed 8 would be one of the biggest seeding upsets that we would see in any tournament, really. Again, top 8 versus bottom 8. You don't expect upsets to happen with this large of a seeding difference between teams. But if Seed 31 can take 3 points against Seed 2, Seed 25 surely can close out the upset here. A break from LOLOK comes through, but Reed Horimiya and Ola are still on the full combos, and with just a sliver of map left to go, and 300,000 points as the advantage on the board for Norway, they are going to close it out. They're going to do it. They're going to complete Austria's Cinderella story for them and steal the spotlight here to clutch out an upset victory over Brazil in the round of 32.
And in a match that made virtually no sense, one thing is going to make sense no matter what, and that's going to be the scoreline. It is going to be the 5-2 final score in favor of Norway. 25 seed over the 8 seed. Let that sink in a little bit. Prior to this, we had not had a true upset this entire weekend. Indonesia beat Spain, but that was 17 versus 16. That's a coin flip as far as seeding goes. There's very little that separates those two teams. This, as Dio mentioned, is a top 8 versus a bottom 8 seed, and the bottom 8 seed just won it 5-2. It was topsy-turvy. It was back and forth. There were breakpoints aplenty, but at the end, it's going to be Norway emerging atop the rubble, atop all of the smoke and ash that have fallen in the course of this match. And onward to the winners round of 16, they will go to take on France, and down to the losers bracket go Brazil to take on Ukraine. This match had so much confusion in it, so many twists and turns and curveballs and bends in the road, and Norway just managed to take all of the right ones.
Yeah, absolutely amazing for Norway. They take the right path forward. I think in large part, 5-2 is one breakpoint on paper. It was actually one correct pick for either team, and everything else was a breakpoint. But one breakpoint difference, right? And in this case, one singular correct pick for Norway made the difference. Otherwise, we could have been 4-4 here, with this being the end of the match going to tiebreaker. But instead, it is Norway finding victory after finding that one correct pick for themselves on the free mod 2. That timeout, probably the single best timeout usage I might have seen, except for roundtable.
I was about to say
with the MREC water bottle. MREC water bottle levels of timeout goatedness here in the 4-digit World Cup round of 32, as Norway used it to, I think, its best possible outcome, using it to win 3 points in a row. No mod 2, free mod 2, DT3, all in a row there for Norway to get to match point, finally closing it out with yet another break point on the Nomad 1. Props to Norway, and good luck, best of luck to Brazil in the losers brackets. That is going to do it for us for now. Once again, thank you to C1G for casting with me. Thank you to Rob for streaming. We are going to be back with the map pool showcase for round of 16 in about an hour. We did have a match scheduled 419 UTC, but that match has unfortunately been forfeited by Saudi Arabia versus Canada. So that match not going to happen. We are going to be back in about an hour for the round of 16 showcase. Thank you all for watching. Once again, congrats to Norway and good luck to Brazil in the losers bracket. We'll see you back here in an hour for the round of 16 showcase.